Continuing Louisiana versus all y'all's trips around the state, getting ready for the upcoming high school football season. We're down in the big city today looking at a New Orleans area preview with New Orleans' own Josh Preston. Folks, know him from a variety of roles through the years, but has his Josh Preston's video vault that I know is extremely popular for folks down there, and has a good handle on what to expect from some of these teams. We're going to talk it through from 5A on down to 1A. Josh, appreciate you. We got a couple weeks before we kick this thing off for real, and appreciate you taking some time to talk about it all.
Nah, no problem. Had to pull up for Jerry, man. Always Louisiana versus everybody versus all y'all.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I know you don't do a ton of this type of thing, and so I appreciate you taking some time away from all the video editing and everything that you're doing year round. Not just the football guys, but obviously been busy with a lot of basketball this summer too. We won't waste a lot of time building up to it. We'll get right into the biggest district in not only New Orleans, but I think a very well-respected district around the state that everybody knows to look for year in and year out, and that's the Catholic League up in 5A, District 9 5A. Full of heavy hitters. You have the traditional Catholic League teams, the Rummels, Brother Martin, Holy Cross, back up in that group in recent years. Jesuit, John Curtis, who's been there for quite a while now. St. Aug, Edna Carr, who joined more recently, and now Warren Easton into that mix and just further bolsters that group. Looking at that 9-5A that is always as competitive as any league in the state, what should folks be watching from that group that it should be a lot of fun on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays again this year?
Again, I think if you're talking Catholic League, you kind of got to start with Carr. They bringing back a ton of guys. I've been saying for, I don't know, probably a season or two that this group that they have right here is going to be a serious group to deal with, like the 2026 group. And they got a lot of guys coming back. John Johnson, Teron Francis. I don't even know if I really need to name all the names, but I could literally name their entire starting unit on both sides because everybody's that good. So, like I said, you got to kind of start with them and kind of filter on down from there, I think.
Yeah, you got 3 LSU commits now since Aiden's commitment recently. So him and Big Rich in the 26 class, Teron in the 25 class. You mentioned John at the helm of that offense, who has some experience, obviously, the last couple of years, comes back. It'll be his second year full-time starting. And so I know they're excited about having last year under his belt and now being able to kind of take off at the helm of it this year. That group, though, St. Aug, Valdez back to the high school ranks, has been successful everywhere he's been as he takes over St. Aug. Curtis is Curtis. You have to keep an eye on them every year. Rummel came on strong down the stretch last year, returns a lot. Brother Martin was a young team last year, was competitive. So I know Carr, I think in both of our minds, is probably the top team to watch, but is this going to be another year where and I say all this without mentioning Holy Cross, who was the 1 seed in that division in the playoffs last year, and now in Coach Watney's second year at the helm. Is it going to be another, slugfest week in, week out between a lot of these teams?
Yeah, I think it is. Even as good as I thought Carr, was last year, it was still a battle pretty much every week. Holy Cross, Brother Martin, I want to say, Rummel gave him probably the best game. I didn't quite expect that because I hadn't seen a ton of Rummel up until that point. But it looks like, they'll be back. I know they bring back Kendrick Joseph. I think he was one guy that really caught my eye last year at receiver. He had a really good game against Carr. And I want to say I saw them another time or two. St. Aug is bringing back like a bunch of guys because, kind of going back through this, looking through some of the names, or looking through the roster, I was just kind of looking for names that I remember coming back. And I was hitting on a bunch of guys with them. Like their receiving group is going to be really good. Same with Brother Martin. They got like 3 or 4 like really, really good young receivers coming back. Their quarterbacks coming back. So I'm kind of wondering if they'll let Hudson Fields maybe get a few snaps in there. But like I said, the Zet's coming back, so I'm sure he'll be kind of entrenched in that starting role. But they've got like the receivers I mentioned, Trishun Ware, I think that's how you pronounce his first name, but he plays like both sides. He was a real problem last year. So the whole Catholic League is going to be really good, probably from top to bottom.
Warren Easton is a team that we've watched for years in 4A be as steadily competitive as anybody, and they make that jump up into this league now after last year was such a roller coaster where you saw some flashes of the potential they had, but then they kept running into different dynamics and had the end of the season shut down. What are your expectations or excitement or whatever it may be for the Eagles now getting back into what we hope is a more normal year, and also hitting now a schedule that includes this gauntlet, and just kind of what do you hope to see from them?
Yeah, they were one of the teams where I did get to see them in spring, and I guess I think they're gonna probably bring back or have Carl Reed at a quarterback, but he's kind of a smaller kid, but I think he seems like he has a pretty good handle on the offense. But they're really gonna rely on their running game again. They usually have like two or three shifty, speedy backs, and they got that again. Thomas Vaughn has been playing since he was a freshman, and he's going to be a junior this year. Terrell Sertan, I think he'll be back, and he was really really good his freshman year. And I think maybe he played like 1 or 2 games last year. I don't know what if it was an eligibility thing or whatever, but I think he'll be back, and they're going to lean on those two a lot. I think they got a really good linebacking core too. Jaden Phillips is Jerry's son, and he looked really good in the spring game. I think I want to say he's class of 2026. So I would probably be on the lookout for him, and I think they use him some at running back too. Like Jerry just does all kind of stuff, so he might throw him back there. He's just gonna do some fun stuff. So that's really why I like covering Easton too, and of course Jalen Chapman at O line. So
Another LSU commit recently,
yeah.
the early 2026 LSU commits all around New Orleans, 3 of them in that district alone. And it's not the only 5A district in the New Orleans area. You have that 10-5A that has a school that you're proud to represent, John Ehret, where you played.
They're gonna
Just
probably win it all. That's my take. I think they'll just probably steamroll. No, I'm just not. But I think
yeah.
go ahead and finish it.
Oh yeah, you played, just a few years ago, and we like to call them the Monsters of Marrero, and they
right.
are a team to watch, obviously, in 10-5A again. Their group is Bonneville, East Jefferson, LW Higgins, a Riverdale team that I think is going to be interesting to watch, has some more talent that I'm aware of right now than is typically the case for Riverdale over the last decade or so. And West Jefferson, is this from a district standpoint? I mean, an Ehret-led league going into this year. I mean, what are your expectations for that school that, again, you proudly rep? And do you have any thoughts on any of these other potential spoilers along the way?
Yeah, I think you would lead with Everett just mostly because of what they've done over the last few years. But I think East Jeff. I kind of know a few kids over there. Dorian Hollins is kind of an interesting prospect over there. He's got like really good size, and I would think they'll probably use him on both sides of the ball, DN, tight end type of kid, wide receiver. But I would maybe keep an eye on him. West Jefferson, they usually have like a couple of like talented guys. Like I know they just produced Sean Nicholas, who was a wide receiver I was pretty big on. So I might just kind of keep an eye on them, make sure they're not kind of creeping up on us too bad. So, but those kind of the guys I would look out for.
In 4A, I think you have the two districts, 9-4A and 10-4A, and at least from the city standpoint, there's kind of a clear top team to watch in each. In 9-4A, Archbishop Shaw, that has been so resurgent the last year plus under Hank Tierney being back over there in the West Bank. Bell Chase, Kenner Discovery, St. Charles Catholic makes the jump up. I'm going to have a chance to talk to Eric Ritchie a little bit more in the River Parishes preview about the Comets and kind of what to expect from them and the Willow School. But I think a lot of expectations from the more city-based teams of those Shaw Eagles. And then 10-4A, you've got Abramson, McMain, Douglas, GW Carver, and McDonough 35, the Ron Eagles and Coach Daggs and company that have been a really steady team, steady program for so long, going back even, before Coach Daggs, Coach Reese, and on through the history. But your thoughts right now, mid-August, on Shaw entering the season and 3-5 entering the season, and if you have any notes on any of those other schools, early on.
Yeah, Shaw. I've really been kind of having my eye on Shaw the last few years. Even with when Coach Connors was there, I really kind of liked the direction they were going. And I think, whenever you got a chance to get Hank Tierney, you kind of got to do it. And and I know they had a couple rough years there, but I think Shaw's going to be really interesting. I mean, you know about Jasper Parker at running back. He's Michigan commit. Is he? He's not signed yet, is he? I don't think he's signed.
No, no.
But okay, yeah, Michigan commit. He's a big time running back there for sure. They're bringing Mason Wilson back at quarterback, and I really think their secondary is going to be really deep. I'm sure Rontre Carter is back. I want to say he's 2027, but they got Jackson Williams, and I don't know if you know about Jackson from basketball. Yeah, he's like, yeah, because he's actually a transfer from Newman, and he's like 6'2", 6'3", like probably right around 200, and he's gonna play some safety, and I hear he's pretty good. Playing football too. I know he's really really good basketball. You can kind of watch out for him there too. But Alan Shaw is another one who's a basketball kid that's gonna be playing. So definitely just gonna be keeping an eye on them for sure. And I know you mentioned 3-5. We all know Ja'Kai Anderson and his brother Kippy. I think both of them are going to be impact players again, and probably lead the way for them in that district. I would think.
In 3A, there's a couple of districts around the city as well. I mean, you've got 9 3A that is probably one of the districts that I know least about around the league. Haynes Academy, Jefferson Rise Charter, Patrick Taylor, Thomas Jefferson, and then you've got young audiences not playing for district football honors. But I think from a statewide level, that 10 3A district is where a lot of eyes will be in terms of New Orleans area football in 3A, where Booker T. Washington, De La Salle, John F. Kennedy, Livingston Collegiate, L.B. Landry, and Sophie B. Wright all hail. I mean, De La Salle is one that folks around the state know. They've been in state championship games just a few years back. John F. Kennedy has come on strong in recent years, and even though B.B. Causey and some other guys have graduated, there's still a lot of talent there. When you look at some potential teams to watch in 3A in New Orleans, what kind of stands out about a couple of those and the potential that's there?
Yeah, you kind of just mentioned, the structure, with De La Salle, and I think that's going to be a big factor for them. I really like Ronald Cash at receivers. Another young receiver that we have down here is 2027. They bring their quarterback back to Evan Arsenal, so I would think that would help with some continuity. BTW, they still have a good amount of talent. Tashawn Smith is a kid that's been playing for a long time now. Both sides of the ball, plays mostly receiver, but he'll get in at DB. D'Amico Barnes had a pretty good year last year at running back, so I think they'll lean on him a lot. As far as Kennedy is another one. They got a good group of guys, especially at receiver. I think James Evans, big time player. He's been playing. He's maybe going on his 4th year starting. It's at least his 3rd year. And then Kingston Jones, who transferred from St. Aug a couple years back, he's another guy receiver that you kind of got to watch for. Landry, I know they're still kind of rebuilding. Hopefully, my guy Nick Foster can kind of get them back up and running. I know just one guy to look out for them is Chris Griffin. He's another 2-way kid, or two-sport kid, I should say, because he plays a little basketball too. But I think they're kind of looking for a pretty big year from him.
In 2A, it's really that one league where you have Isidore Newman that has been one of the steady 2A teams for years and been kind of knocking at the door. Can they get to the Dome finally? And coming up just short in semis and quarters repeatedly in recent years. That district with those guys, MLK Charter, Country Day, the Cajuns, Sarah T. Reed, South Plaquemine, and Walter L. Cohen. I know you've had a chance to see some of Newman in recent years and know some of what they've got back. I don't know how much you know about some of the other teams right now in that 2A district, but what can you tell us about what you're looking for from the Greenies or anybody else in that group?
Yeah, Newman is definitely the team I'm probably most familiar with, even though I actually didn't get a chance to see them last year. It was just so packed for Friday nights, and they have their own stadium, so they pretty much always play on Fridays. But I, saw a little bit of in 7-on-7 and stuff like that. And Eli Friend, he's been really good. He was really good last year, just for me, just kind of checking in and watching the highlights. He may be the one to get him to the Dome, even despite having Archman in the last few years prior. But I think he's gonna have a really big year for them and get them I think what they get to quarters last year or semis, so I'd expect them to be right around that same area and maybe have a chance to get that this year. They got a Jake Randall too. I had to shout out Jake Randall just because of Will Randall. That was one of my favorite guys to come through at tight end, and his brother was getting some reps while he was still there, and he's a running back, so I think he'll have a good year too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing Jake for the first time as a freshman, I guess a couple years ago now, and
Yeah,
watching
probably was.
the little shifty back of the younger Randall
Yeah,
compared to
who's like really, yeah.
the,
I
the
got,
big physical tight end.
it was good too seeing Will. I actually got to cover the Sugar Bowl, and during media they had Jake was out there, or not Jake, Will was out there, and so got to talk to him and chop it up with him for a little bit. So that was cool.
It'll be interesting watching them this year. It looks like that should be their district to lead, with St. Charles making its big jump up to 4A, and that Division 3 can be wide open for the Greenies this year too, potentially, depending on how some of the bracket stuff falls, and that's obviously a long ways away. We'll see how it all unfolds over the next few months, but the 1A district really that is kind of in your wheelhouse down there, Crescent City, Riverside Academy. A team that was just in the Dome last year that I think I'll talk a little bit more with Eric about with the River Parishes preview as well. St. Martin's Episcopal, the big one out there in Metairie with Harlem Berry, the star running back, Varnado, and West St. John. Last year, a lot was just kind of rode on that Riverside and St. Martin's matchup, but this is the
Yeah.
last go round for Harlem and his 2025 class for the Saints. How much fun has it been to watch him come through in recent years and see St. Martin's kind of on the map from a playoff standpoint in a way that they haven't necessarily been in quite a while? And what are you hoping to see from those guys in that final go round for the 25 class?
Yeah, I guess this was my second or third time seeing the number one running back in the nation. At least for that class, I remember getting a glimpse of Leonard Fournette. Back in the day, I wasn't too far into going to games yet because I wasn't. I was just getting started. But I was able to catch a little bit of him. And now Harlem Berry is really really impressive kid. I was able to see them against the Riverside in the Riverside game, and he had a big game in that one. He just kind of does everything for them as you would expect. And you would think it's more of the same, but Riverside, they bring back a lot of their guys too. So I would think they'll probably have the upper hand in that matchup. But really, I was just kind of happy to see Harlem Berry stay. I thought I heard some buzz about maybe him with IMG or whatever prep school might be out there, but I was just happy to see him stay. And hopefully, I can catch him at least a couple more times this year.
Yeah, with the state of high school athletics at this point, we've seen it a lot coming out of the city from a basketball standpoint the last few months, where just keeping top talent, as much as we talk about the transfer portal at the college level, keeping top talent at their home city schools and whatnot, and not going off to some of those big prep schools has become such an interesting storyline every offseason. Just kind of, I guess generally for a St. Martin's, if Harlem and company could get to a point where they can make a run and possibly reach the Dome, or if Newman finally gets over the hump, or for Shaw to get back after all those years, what would you tell people outside of the city of if one or more of those kind of storybook historic type seasons can unfold for one of these programs, what that would mean for those schools and those rosters of kids on their way out to the next level, or just how cool of a storyline it could be to watch around the city?
Yeah, I think the Newman one is probably the most interesting one, just because they've been knocking on the door for so many seasons. It feels like. I mean, I know Arch, they got to the quarterfinals. I want to say at least every season, and I think they got to the semifinals another time or two. So I think they will probably be the most interesting one to see them kind of break through. Like I said, I think they might have the best chance out of that kind of group you named. Just a lot of it, because of Eli Friend, and then Brett Borderline, of course, at tackle. So I think they've probably got the best chance to kind of break out of that and have a big season.
There you go. We'll be watching all of it this year. Josh will be on sidelines probably at least 3 games a week and often more.
At least two.
Bouncing,
At least two.
bouncing around that always hectic New Orleans prep schedule. Make sure you're keeping up with everything he's doing over there with his video vault, Josh Preston's video vault on YouTube. As always, I'm Jarrett Roser for Louisiana versus all y'all. Josh, thank you so much for your time, man, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Nah, no problem, man. Appreciate you having me.